Hey. All right, here it is. Finally, it's done. The Torna Bringer of Chaos Brighid only run is finally done. And holy shit, this was actually way more difficult than I had thought. I spent about 2.5 hours just on the final fight itself because it was so bullshit. But my first ever Torna challenge run, which is surprising that it took me this long, but we're here. And of course, this is Brighid only, and I'm going to go over my setup real quick for this run. Now, for Brighid, there's not really as much to cover as in Xenoblade 2, the base game. But as for her arts, she only has 3 arts: Heat Haze, Will-o'-the-Wisp, and Swirling Dragon. It's not really what's important here. For the courtship, I am running Moon Matter to have as much crit rate as I possibly can. Now, there's another chip here that increases evasion or agility, evasion, whatever you want to call it. But Moon Matter is more worth running because of the crit rate. I'm already going to have disgusting evasion anyway, so I'm almost never going to get hit. And having as much crit rate as possible will help me output some damage, since Brighid is lacking in the damage department a little bit, at least for this run when she's on her own. So I need as much damage as I can possibly get. Now, her skills are very clutch. We have Warpire, which adds 10% chance to, or 10% damage dealt for each attack evaded. So every time I evade an attack, I get a 10% bonus damage, so 10% additive all the way up to a max of 250%, which we can get to very easily, and we don't have to worry about losing it since we're not going to be switching out anyway. Her next skill is Firewalker, which improves evasion by 60% when HP is 30% or lower. So Brighid thrives at 30% or lower health, not just because of this, but because of her talent art as well, which I will go over. This is very clutch. I'm very rarely going to be getting hit, but when I do, I'll eventually get down to 30%. My evasion gets even nastier, and I'll be taking even less damage. So we can stay in, 30% or lower for a long time, and that's where Brighid is the best at. And then Dance of Flames adds 90% chance to evade ranged attacks. That one is also very clutch. So all 3 of these skills are actually very useful. Now, as for her talent art, Confining Flames, the condition for it is when she's at her HP is 30% or lower, and she summons basically, a fire vortex below the target, like it says. So it's basically just an area of effect field. Think Blaze from Xenoblade 3. Okay, I'm pretty sure y'all know what this does, but for those of y'all who don't and are new to Xenoblade or my challenge runs, that's what that is. And for the Ox Cores, I'm actually running Affinity Max Attack on her. Affinity Max Attack 6 on her for, again, as much damage as I can possibly get. And then Affinity Max Evade 6 for as much evasion as I can get. So I'm going to be dealing quite a bit of damage, but also taking almost no damage because of how nasty her evasion is. And then as for the pouch items, I'm using Miracle Parfait, which is the best, or one of the best art recharge items in the game. It is crafted by Mithra, and a new game plus pouch item called Love Donut, which is also a very nice art recharge. Miracle Parfait recharges arts by 0.3 each second and specials by 1 each second, and Love Donut is 0.4 for arts and 0.8 for specials. So these are arguably the best pouch items to run for art recharge and special recharge. But that's really all there is to cover about Brighid and everything she can do. I guess I can talk about the arts real quick. My main damage art is going to be her level 3 special, not art, her special. Her level 1 special isn't really too useful. I only really use it as an AoE for certain fights. Her level 2 again increases damage dealt by 150% when 30% or lower in HP. So like I said earlier, she really does thrive at 30% or lower in her HP. So it's kind of nasty. And then Beltane Blade, which her level 3, which is going to be my main damaging special until I get to 30% or lower HP, but increases damage dealt from the front by 100%. And then of course I'll use her level 4 to, you know, evade some scary attacks that will kill me, which y'all will see later on. That level 4 does come in clutch. But that's really all there is to cover about Brighid herself and the whole setup and everything. So if y'all want to do it yourselves, here's the build. Let's actually get on to the run now. So the first real fight of the challenge run is against the gargoyle at the beginning in Feltley Village. We make very quick work of it because, you know, I'm playing a new game plus, so S+ rank is very disgusting. The damage output is very nice. So early on in the challenge run, a lot of these fights are going to go by pretty quickly, but it will get more difficult as the game goes on, obviously. And then after the gargoyle fight, we have to fight Mithra and Adam, but they don't really hurt me at all, considering I have high evasion and doing a lot of damage. And the next fight is against these Arachno, which I just one-shot with Heat Haze. I just completely bodied them with Heat Haze. Now there's going to be a lot of these little fights that I'm not really going to cover, but I am going to cover a lot of the quest fights, because you know there is a gatekeep for community, and a lot of those quests do require fighting enemies. I'm going to add those in here since I only really cover mandatory fights in these challenge runs, but since Torna is so short, I wanted to add in some of these quest fights to kind of just fill in the video a little bit, because there's not really too many required fights in the game. So I am going to be adding some quest fights in here. And for whatever reason, I tried to come and do this Barney Stone right here, not realizing that the enemy's around level 32 and I'm only level 12. I forgot they were this high level, so I thought it was smart to come and do this. But even still, I decided to push through it because I have a lot of evasion. I should be able to get through it, right? No, I got bodied, but I did kill about one enemy, and you all saw there, you know, being at 30% or lower, I started taking less damage. Confining Flames came into effect, and you know, Brighid is very nice at 30% or lower. But let's get on to the next actual big fight. So now we got Klaus fucking up the timeline a little bit, because now we actually have to fight Brighid herself. So a nice little Brighid ditto here. It goes about as you'd expect. I just have a very high evasion, so even though she's multiple levels higher than me, she doesn't really do too much damage. And I basically just use Heat Haze and Will-o'-the-Wisp. Heat Haze for the AoE, and Will-o'-the-Wisp is a very nice, just high damage. Since there's so many little hits that adds up to high damage, I take her and the Jordanian troops out pretty quickly. Our next required fight is against this Bar Rappel right here, and again, it's nothing too insane. A lot of these early fights are just going to be around the same. I'm just spamming arts to just output as much damage as I can, since I'm going to be doing a lot of damage early on, even when multiple levels lowered. So this Rappel was a bit of a pushover. Now the next mandatory fight is against Gort in Torgoth City, the cemetery. And basically my main strat is to just keep on spamming Heat Haze in Wheel of Penance, her level 1 special, to just get as much AoE damage as I can to kill everyone around the same time. And no surprise, it went pretty smooth. Now a lot of this was, or before this fight, a lot of it was just doing quests to, you know, build up community so I wouldn't have to do it later. But this fight is the fight where I noticed, yeah, this is gonna be a pretty fun challenge run. As soon as I got below 30%, I took absolutely no damage at all whatsoever. I was so hype about this, I posted it on Twitter, I gave a little sneak peek on YouTube. I took no damage here, because Brighid is that just that stupid with evasion when she's at 30% or lower. I absolutely body these Gogles that are 8 levels higher than me, by the way. So I take both of them on very, very easily. It was disgusting. Now, the next big fight was against this Jagron right here, right before we get Minoth in the party. Now, this one, I think I died one time, and I think I had actually leveled up after that. But for this fight, it wasn't really too bad. I'm surprised I survived as long as I did. Once I get to max affinity, I'm almost taking no damage. And then once I get to below 30%, you're going to hear me saying that a lot. Alright, so once I get to below 30%, it's just free right here. I can just autopilot. I'm normally just spamming. I'm just spamming arts until I get to, you know, her level 3 special or level 2 if I'm 30% or lower, and just go off. And I'll put down a confining flames whenever I have the chance, because that's just a free DOT field, yet there's no reason not to run it. And canceling it actually builds up the special gauge, so that helps a lot too, since special gauge charge is reduced in Bringer of Chaos. So basically throughout the fight, I'll just spam my arts, and whenever I get to a level 3, I'll use the level 3 special in case I'm feeling like using the level 2. And then once I get to below 30%, I'll just constantly keep that confining flames up and just spamming level 2 and 3 specials. So I did die on the second phase of this Jagron here. I got unlucky. I almost killed it, but I got unlucky and got hit. See, as you can see, I'm very low on health and just died to an auto attack. So I think I actually leveled up after this and came back, and it was smooth sailing from there. Okay, so I actually didn't die here. For whatever reason, I thought I did, but I almost did. I got down to 28 HP and I was there for about the whole fight. I was terrified. One hit and I was dead, but I just kept the confining flames up, just art spamming until I got to level 3. And then eventually I did use a level 4 as just a little sense of security, since I was scared. I was very scared. I was at 28 HP. All right, any attack would hit me, and I never knew what attack would hit me. With, you know, the evasion that I had, it's not complete full 100% evasion. So I used the level 4 special more for just damage instead of avoiding an attack. I think her level 3 and level 2 may actually be stronger than her level 4. It doesn't really seem like it does that much damage compared to the others, but I just used the level 4 special more as just a safety net to get some damage out without them being able to hit me. So one of the quests that you have to do in order to, you know, gain community, to get past that roadblock, the quest that involves saving the Armu, and you have to fight sets of Gogles and whatever. One of these Gogles really fucked me up. All right, I spent 20 minutes on this fight, and that was with recording. And then when I was doing it off screen without recording, I spent at least half an hour. So collectively, I spent almost an hour just on this singular fight alone. And I was around level 30, somewhere around level 30 around the time. And I didn't want to level up too high to, you know, trivialize it and make it easy. So I stayed around level 30, and I think I eventually leveled up to level 35. And then eventually to 40. I may have went up to 40, but if not, I went up to 35, around the same level as the Gogol, because I just could not beat it for the life of me. All right, I kept getting bodied by Wild Wave, which was its Rage Strike, which is what I was talking about earlier when I said sometimes I'll use a level 4 to avoid an attack that I can't typically evade. Wild Wave being one such move, considering that it is a multi-hit and is very high chance that it will hit me through my evasion. Somehow this was very accurate, and it kept hitting me through evasion. I think a couple times I survived it, but then I died later on. But this fight took so long. So the main strat was again to just keep spamming arts until I got up to level 3 and just spam my level 3 special, confining flames whenever I had the chance. And then when I got to close to around half HP, I would just build up a level 4, and then as soon as it went enraged, it would use rage, its rage strike would be wild wave as soon as it was enraged. So I'd wait for it to get enraged. As soon as I saw it using wild wave, I can't speak. As soon as I saw it using wild wave, I would just level 4 through it. And typically that would work until it would use Feral Beat. When it was around a 4th health left, it would use Feral Beat and call other Gogos in, which scared me because obviously I'm at low HP with multiple high level enemies. I'm bound to get hit by one of them. And I think twice I got to that point and died, but I somehow eventually was able to take on both Gogos without getting hit a single time. And during then, when the other Gogo came in, I would just constantly spam Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance again to get as much AoE damage as possible. And I finally beat it. This little side quest took me longer than most mandatory fights, which is just sad. And after a few more quests, I decided to come back and take care of this Barney Stone that I tried to at the beginning, now that I'm more equipped at level to deal with it. And this one also went pretty smoothly. Again, whenever I have multiple groups of enemies, the main strat is to just keep on spamming Heat Wave or Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance. And then when I got to 30% or lower, Confining Flames for the extra damage. Added on top of the Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance, I was able to deal a lot of AoE damage and take out multiple enemies around the same time. So just imagine if I didn't have any AoE, how annoying it would be to take on multiple enemies one by one, and I would die quite a bit. But I somehow able to beat this on my first try with multiple waves of enemies, with multiple enemies each wave. I actually died once, but I think on my second attempt I came back and beat it. And another quest enemy I had to fight was the Grafton Ferris. This one was actually not as scary as I had thought. I am 4 levels higher, but that didn't really make much of a difference. It still got me to low HP a couple of times, and I think I actually died. But this fight was alright. Again, just keep on with my damage. Heat Haze, Will of the Wisps, and then once I get to low HP, Swirling Dragon does more damage. Swirling Dragon being her art on the B button, which is her strongest art. Whenever you're at low HP, you deal more damage, which is very helpful. So that paired with, the 30% or lower and all the buffs I get from that, this Ferris went down without really too much trouble. It bypassed my evasion a couple of times and killed me, but I got through it pretty quickly. A hell of a lot faster than that Gogo fight. I don't understand how that Gogo took me so long, but I survived on 2 HP on this fight for a while, but I eventually was able to beat it. Next mandatory fight is against the Gargoyles and Oresco. Now these I took down pretty quickly. I was already a lot higher level than they were, and they didn't really pose too much of a threat. I don't think, none of them even brought me close to dying. I don't think I even got to 30% or lower on any of the fights I might have, but the Gargoyles were kind of a pushover. And then after that, we fight Malos for the first time, and Malos is a very scary fight. For here and at the end of the game, especially at the end of the game. I had more trouble in the final battle in this game than I did in base game or any of my challenge runs. It's terrible. I had an easier time beating Xenoblade 2 Bringer of Chaos with shield hammers than I did with Malos, you know, with just Brighid in this game. So goddamn, Bringer of Chaos is a very, very tough difficulty for a reason. But my main strat for the Malos fight is to get up to my level 3 special as much as I can, you know, as quickly as possible, use it as soon as I can, and just over and over again, my main damage source would just be a level 3 special. Even when at 30% or lower, I would usually just go for the level 3 special instead of level 2, since the level 3 special is stronger in a lot of cases, since in the level 2 special, only Hugo and Brighid attack, while in the level 3 special, Aegeon joins in for the extra bit of damage. So sometimes it's more worth to use the level 3 over the level 2, and I used a chain attack at a point to just basically survive some scary hits. I think it was his Rage Strike Striker Edge, because for whatever reason, Striker Edge hits me a lot, especially in the final boss battle. Striker Edge bypasses my evasion so much. It goes through my evasion so much and it hits me so much. And even the final battle, a lot of the time Striker Edge is the only move to hit me. It's insane how accurate that move is, that art is. But Malos, basically I would just build up a level 3 special and just use that on him and keep up Confining Flames as much as I could. Sometimes I'd reposition myself to have him go into the Confining Flames, because for whatever reason Malos likes to move around in a fight. He'll like to go to the side of you, go around you, even though positional arts aren't really prevalent in this game like they're in 3. He likes to move around a lot, so sometimes I reposition myself to get him to go back into the Confining Flames. But after the Malos fight, we have to fight 2 more gargoyles together, and for this fight, again, just like any other fight with multiple enemies, I'll basically just keep on using Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance over and over and over again, and then when I get to 30% or lower, Confining Flames, and just keep up the AoE damage. And then once I get down to 1 gargoyle, again just like Malos, I'll just use my level 3 as much as I could. And here we get to the final stretch of the game. Between that Malos fight and here, in this fight, is just building up community to level 4, so that took about a day almost to just finally get past that roadblock. I actually like that the community gatekeeping for like a first playthrough, but for subsequent playthroughs, for like challenge runs, it's abysmal. But this is where I really start to struggle. Now, the Titan antibody core, basically just like the Barney stones, multiple waves of enemies with multiple enemies at a time. So again, just like before, I'll just keep on using Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance. But the annoying thing about it is that these little parasacks, once they get down to around half health, when they become enraged, they have spike damage. You know, they have a spike effect. And as you know, that is very detrimental since I don't really have any way of healing. My literal only way of healing is by canceling an art, because that is one of the skills on Hugo's skill tree. Once you cancel an art, you know, heal, I think it was like 2% of health. So around this time in the game, at the level I'm at, I'm only healing around 76 health every time I cancel an auto attack into an art. And I didn't really take advantage of this until the final boss fight. That's when I actually noticed it. So I barely even noticed that I was healing the entire game. But as you can expect, that's very detrimental. So I, for whatever reason, didn't realize I was dying to spike damage until multiple attempts. I just thought, you know, I kept getting unlucky with the evasion and they just kept hitting me through my evasion, so I just kept at it over and over and over again. I didn't realize I was taking spike damage, and then once I realized it, I tried again about 1 or 2 more times. I, you know, couldn't pass it, so I tried leveling up to see if that would help. I was still taking spike damage, and then I remembered, wait a minute, Spike Defense Aux cores exist. Why the hell don't I just use that? that would save me so much time. It took me so long to realize that I had spike defense aux cores, but to my detriment, I realized I only had spike defense 1, I'm pretty sure. So I had to stop this, go grind an elite monster or a unique monster, Xenoblade 3, go grind a unique monster for a spike defense 3 drop, since that's the highest aux core you can get for spike defense in this game is 3, or in base game it's 6. In Torna, a lot of the aux cores only go up to 3. So the spike defense 3 aux core reduces spike defense by 80%, so not completely negates it. Even with an 80% decrease, it's still better than taking the full spike defense. So not spike defense, spike damage. And I actually got lucky and got a spike defense 3 drop on like my 3rd or 4th attempt through, you know, farming the boss. So I popped off during that, but it really did help a lot. The spike defense 3 really helped a lot. I got a lot further into, you know, the little Barney Stone challenge, but I kept dying in the later waves to the bigger enemies and their spike defense. So I got a little smarter and more cautious with how I was going about these fights. I'll just blindly, you know, just spam as much AoE as I can, confining flames, but I actually started to pay attention and plan it out. So I would get through the first couple waves without an issue, and a couple times I think I even leveled up, which fully healed me, which did help, but it also hurt me because I wouldn't get all those buffs and additives from being at 30% or lower. But at that point it didn't really matter, since spike defense or spike damage, I keep saying defense, spike damage completely ignores evasion, so your stats don't matter when it comes to spike damage. So what I would do during the later waves when there were a lot more enemies, I would typically just keep on with my AoE, and then I would target the bigger enemies, and once they got to around half health or lower, I would switch over to the other one so I wouldn't take spike damage from them, and I would avoid using AoE. And then once I got them to around half health, I would build up a level 3 special and then use my level 3 special on them, because level 3 special also has a very nice AoE and it's a lot of damage. So I would try to take out the smaller ones with my level 3 AoE while I'm targeting the bigger parasacks. And then when I was low on health, I would basically just build up a level 4 and then just level 4 my way through the enemy until I killed it when it's low HP, and I'm low HP because again I can't be taking spike damage. So I'll just build up a level 4 and then just use my level 4 to finish off some of the enemies, since I don't take damage during level 4 specials. So during this took me a long time, alright? It actually didn't take as long as I thought, at least as long as it felt. It was only around 20 minutes or so, 10 minutes for the first Barney Stone, and the other one was again around 10 minutes. So it felt like I was doing this for hours, but I guess not. But once I actually started to pay attention and plan out what I was going to do, I was able to flow through it a lot smoother. And now, before we actually get on to the final fight with Malos, I decided to skip the last Barney Stone, since I would, or Titan Core I guess you could call it, Titan Antibody Core. I decided to skip that last one because before even being able to get to that last one, I'd have to do a different one to unlock the gate in order to get to that last one. So I'd have to do 2 more, and the spike defense or the spike damage was just too high that I decided to just skip it because it would take way too long, and I really wanted to get this challenge run out today. And if I just tried to beat those last 2, I would not have been able to do it today. So I mean, hopefully that's good enough. But it took me about half an hour to do the skip. I don't know why it took me that long. It's never taken me that long. It's very precise, so it's understandable. But I started to getting really mad. All right, I started to get really pissed trying to do this skip because I just couldn't do it. But after half an hour, goddamn, I finally get on to the Malos fight. And this Malos fight, I spent collectively like 2 hours on this fight. I was getting very, very very frustrating, and I just thought about stopping around like an hour and a half. I just wanted to stop and just do something else, but I'm here at the end, and I wanted to get this out as soon as I could because I'd been holding this off for a while, but I've actually pushed through and decided to continue. So for this Malos fight, there are two phases. The first phase where I have to fight him along with 2 gargoyles, and then after that just Malos by himself with the whole artifice gauge gimmick. Now the first phase, it goes just like all the other fights. I'm a broken record at this point. I would just keep on using Heat Haze and Wheel of Penance to get as much, you know, AoE damage as I could until I got down to one enemy where I would just spam a level 3 special. Now that one, the first phase is pretty easy. I can get through the first phase fairly quickly. It's the second phase that really kept getting me and kept, you know, pissing me off, because I think he gets increased HP, either HP or defense in the second phase, because he takes a lot less damage in the second phase. And not to mention that he can use Monado armor, which reduces his damage take even more. So it's not even a matter of, you know, not being able to beat the fight and it being difficult. It's just a matter of time, because he's so damn tanky and Brighid does so little damage compared to, you know, having a full party or other party members. She just does so little damage and he's just so tanky that I barely took away at his health bar. Or I'll be doing the fight for what, half an hour, and I'm still nowhere close to beating him. He just so damn tanky, and it doesn't help that Bringer of Chaos just increases all the stats for enemies, including HP. So it's more just a test of patience than a test of skill for this final fight. But at the beginning, I would normally just, you know, keep on spamming a level 3, but then I developed a nice flow and strat later on around the half an hour mark. Typically my strat would be to, you know, get him up, build up a level 3 special, and then use that as much as I could, but make sure he was facing me, because again, 100% damage increase when attacking from the front. So I'll normally do that until I got to around 30% or lower, where I would keep confining flames up, and then I would just constantly spam a level 2 instead of a level 3. In this situation, using the level 2 special when at 30% or lower does more damage than just using the level 3, because I get 150% damage increase when at 30% or lower. And even though I don't have a G on here for the extra damage, the 150% damage typically outdoes that extra damage that a Geon would have done. So it's more worth to use the level 2 here over and over again as opposed to the level 3. And I can't use the Siren Gauge in this fight because you need Mithra in the party, since she's the one actually controlling Siren. And I didn't even know about this until I did this challenge run. I had never heard anyone talk about it because, I don't know, maybe no one's ever fought Malos with just one party member that isn't Mithra. But apparently, yes, you do need, and I even tested it out after the challenge run, you do need Mithra in the party and active in the fight in order to even use the Siren Gauge, or the Artifice Gauge. So I lost my mind when I was just spamming the plus button and it wasn't working. I was like, what the hell is going on? Why is it not working? But you need Mithra in the party, and that would have been very nice to know before doing this. Not that it would have helped anything, but, you know, a nice little peace of mind. But typically later on in the fight, around an hour and a half of doing this, I figured the best way to optimize damage, to do the absolute most damage I possibly could, is to, you know, just keep on using my level 3 special until I get to 30% or lower, keep up Confining Flames, and then just use Swirling Dragon as much as I could until I built up a level 2 special, and then use a level 2 special, and then basically just use Heat Haze and Will-O-the-Wisps to charge up my special gauge as much as I could, and even confining flames, if that ran out, that would help charge my special gauge, and get a level 2 blade combo off. So in Bringer of Chaos, blade combos are massively shorter. The time on them are way shorter, so it's harder to get them off. So it's very hard to get a level 3. It's impossible to get a level 3 with just Brighid herself. I tested it with Mithra and she can get a full blade combo off by herself thanks to crit recharge. But here I would normally just Confining Flames, Swirling Dragon, and once I got the first level of the blade combo off, I would get my level 2 special up to get the second level of a blade combo off, and that does a nice big amount of damage to him whenever the second level is activated. So I would just keep doing that over and over and over again. So my main source of damage would just be keep Confining Flames up and then use Swirling Dragon as much as I could until I got up to level 2, use my level 2 special, and then use Heat Haze and Will of the Wisps to get another level 2 back up to get the level 2 blade combo off before it expired, and then just go back to Swirling Dragon and level 2 specials, and just over and over and over again. And then whenever I would get to low HP, I would just cancel all my arts or my auto attacks into arts. So I would, for example, cancel Will of the Wisps from an auto attack, don't cancel it into another art, wait for her to auto attack again, cancel that into Confining Flames or another art, wait for another auto attack, and I would just do that to slowly heal myself back up to around 30%, because every time I've died, it was always because of Striker Edge. Striker Edge always killed me, and it was the only thing that would ever kill me. So I don't know how that always hit me, but nothing else ever did. But I would usually just heal myself up to around 2000 HP roughly, because I did level up a lot. I actually ended up leveling up to around level 80 for this because I was just so annoyed at how long it was taking. So it wasn't too bad, since it's not really a skill issue, it's just more of a time issue. So leveling up, I didn't feel as bad because I kind of needed to. It was taking way too long, so I just leveled up to 80. So I stayed around the 2000 health marker, and that's around 30% for the level she was at, and it was pretty consistent for all the levels. But I'll just stay around there as much as I could to keep Confining Flames up and have as much health as I can to where I'm not over 30%. But is eventually just stayed like that, just constantly spamming level 2 specials whenever I'm low. If I were to heal too much, I would just use level 3s until I was down to 30% again. Confining Flames, level 2 Swirling Dragon, my main damage output. And finally, after almost 2 goddamn hours, I was able to beat Malos and beat Torna, Bringer of Chaos, with Brighid only.
You shall burn. You shall burn. No more running amok. Try it. There is no escape.
Magnificent.
Don't you know who I am?
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. Mithra!
And that's the challenge run. This took me way longer than I expected it to. I thought I'd be done with it in about a day, but it took around 2 or 3 days because of course I had to work in between then, so I obviously can't do it at work. But this was actually very fun, and I actually might do, my next one might just be Bringer of Chaos with Mithra, and just do Mithra next. Now that one might be harder considering she doesn't have anywhere near as much evasion as Brighid, so I'm going to be taking a lot more damage. But thankfully crit healing is a thing, and I have a pretty nice build for Mithra in Torna to where she can crit heal effectively and stay pretty healthy on her own. So my next playthrough may just be Mithra only on, you know, Torna Bringer of Chaos. But yeah, I feel really good about this playthrough, about this challenge run. I love Torna. It's an incredible game. I would probably like Torna more than base game if it was just a lot longer, but I understand why it wasn't a lot longer. It's supposed to be just a chapter long, so I'm satisfied with the length of Torna, but if it was a lot longer, I would like it a hell of a lot more. I like the combat system more, and just it's just great. Torna is an incredible game, and I'm excited to see how similar the DLC story for Xenoblade 3 is to Torna. So if it's anything like Torna, I'm going to enjoy it a lot. But yeah, that's really it. That's the challenge run. I beat Torna, Break of Chaos with only Brighid. I love Brighid. She's obviously top 5. All right, she is top 5 favorite Xenoblade characters of all time. So, but yeah, that's really about it. I hope y'all enjoyed it and looking forward to the next one. And then after the Mithra one, I think I'll finally finish my Xenoblade 3 challenge run that I've been talking about for weeks, probably months, and just haven't done yet. But yeah, look forward to that. So as always, thanks for watching. Have a damn good day. Stay safe, be well, and play some goddamn Xenoblade.